Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today for our Fit Advantage webinar. We're looking forward to sharing proven strategies to attract flexible, independent travelers this summer. My name is Jasmine Gravette, and I'm the Executive Director of the Grand Prairie Regional Tourism Association. The Grand Prairie Regional Tourism Association is an ambassador for the Grand Prairie region and visible voice for the tourism industry. Our territory spans south to Grand Cache, west into Saddle Hills, north to the Dunvegan Bridge, and east to Fox Creek. As a destination marketing organization for the region, we work in conjunction with Travel Alberta as a tourism destination region, helping promote tourism by negotiating and investing in marketing programs and partnership proposals. All of our efforts are dedicated to increasing local business revenue by promoting the Grand Prairie area through every possible marketing avenue, continually seeking new opportunities to showcase the region. So that is a little bit about myself and the Grand Prairie Regional Tourism Association. I'd love to know who's joining us today. So please feel free to pop your name, where you're joining us from, and your business name in the chat as we go. So before we move on, I'd like to acknowledge the homeland of the many diverse First Nations and Métis people whose ancestors have walked this land since time immemorial. We are grateful to work, live, and learn on the traditional territory of Treaty 8. Our objectives today are on the screen for you, pretty high level. We're gonna hopefully help you as tourism operators and businesses to better understand the flexible independent traveler, or the FIT trend, better understand how to tailor your products and experiences to fit FITs, and better understand how to market to FITs. So I'm going to kick things off here shortly with a very brief introduction on who FITs are. And then I'll be happily kick things over to our industry experts today to chat a little bit about their businesses and how the FIT trend is affecting what they do. And then we'll end with the Q&A. I do encourage you to pop questions into the chat box as we go, and we'll just leave answers to them towards the end of the webinar. So today we do have with us two wonderful industry experts from here in Grand Prairie and down in Calgary. First, we have Cindy Dempsey, the founder and owner of No Borders Travel, a travel advisor and destination wedding specialist. Cindy started in the travel business in 2015 with an agency out of Edmonton. After a few years under another agency, in 2019, she started No Borders Travel, incorporated in Grand Prairie. Since then, No Borders Travel has grown from just Cindy in Grand Prairie to over 15 agents working across Canada, and she's still counting. We also have Zach Vanasse, the founder and director of Dinosaur Trips. Zach has more than 15 years of experience in the travel and tourism industry. He started his tourism career as a travel journalist before joining a tourism consultancy where he collaborated with media, small owner-operated tour companies, large multinational tourism corporations, trip designers, travel agents, tourism boards, conservation organizations, Indigenous associations, NGOs, art collectives, and advocacy groups. At Dinosaur Trips, Zach blends storytelling with science to offer travelers a meaningful way to explore Earth's ancient past. And we're going to have the privilege of hearing from both of them in just a moment. So as many of you have likely noticed, there's a growing segment of travelers that's changing how we do business, the flexible independent traveler, or FIT. These are individuals or small groups who plan their own trips, book directly online, and seek unique, personalized experiences over packaged tours. FITs are typically millennials and Gen Zs, putting them in their mid-20s to mid-40s today. They're often looking for flexible, authentic, and connection with the local culture. And they're influencing everything from how we market our businesses to the types of services and experiences we offer. Today, we're fortunate to have Zach and Cindy with us to share real-world insights and strategies for tapping into this important and growing market. Zach, I'll turn things over to you to introduce Dinosaur Trips and talk about how the FIT trend is affecting Dinosaur Trips designs, prices, and marketing activities.
Thank you, Jasmine. So yeah, as Jasmine said, I'm Zach Vanasse. I'm the founder director of Dinosaur Trips. Our headquarters are based out of Calgary. Um, Quickly, what is Dinosaur Trips? I mean, it's pretty much what it sounds like. You can get the official elevator pitch from the slide there, but it's dinosaur-based travel is really what it is. We try to take people to the places, the dig sites, the experiences behind the scenes at museums, kind of access people normally can't get on their own, and that's why some FIT clients are coming to us for that to be able to book these experiences that otherwise they might not be able to gain on their own. And of course, Grand Prairie is been central to Dinosaur Trips, which is just a couple years into our operations now, um, as the Philip Currie Museum and the Pipestone Creek Bone Bed offer some great experiences. But as we've gathered and had a few group departures in the area in the past, really realizing the potential for this to be a fantastic FIT market. So excited to share a little bit about my knowledge from the industry with you today, a little bit about the kind of clientele that Dinosaur Trips specifically is looking for in the FIT space, and hopefully that can help you with your operations as well. So I think that a crucial question here is who are our guests, speaking specifically to who are the FIT guests that Dinosaur Trips host. So they tend to be united by one thing, curiosity. Um, they include people who are dinosaur diehards who've been dreaming of fossil digs since childhood. Somebody like myself, who the company was started for. But it's not just the paleo nerds. I wouldn't have a business if it was just paleo nerds. There's a good number of them out there, probably not enough to make this sustainable. So we also appeal to history and archaeology buffs who are drawn to things like the ancient, the buried, the untold, wildlife and nature enthusiasts who see prehistory as part of today's natural history, and then experience collectors chasing rare, story-worthy moments their friends haven't even heard of. And I think when we're talking about the FIT segment, that last group is of particular interest to what we'll be talking about today. These people who are looking for something that's quite off the beaten path, something that they know their colleagues, their friends, their family have not heard of before, and a chance to, I mean, you can say show off, you can say just experience something outside of other folks' comfort zone. It's great dinner party conversation. So who are our guests continued? They're often independent travelers, as we're talking about today. Many of them are solo, sometimes in pairs. They're well-read, they're well-traveled, but they're always looking for something different. They're motivated, and I think this is key to keep in mind here as we discuss FIT today. They're motivated by meaning, not just sightseeing, is a big part of it. And they're willing to pay for access, insight, and authenticity. So when they put a premium on the products that they want to experience and travel, that premium is for, as I said, access, insight, and authenticity. Less so, although I mean luxury can still be enjoyed, less so than luxury. What they're happy to pay for is that access, that insight, and that authenticity. But really, this all boils down to they want to come home with a story that no one else can tell. And I think that's true for all our guests, whether they are in our small group departures or our FIT clientele. I have a few slides here on guest persona. I won't take too much time on them. This is something we've put together for our marketing, but it just helps for myself, and I'm happy to share these with you as well. We can just reach out, or I can have Jasmine share them. But it helps to kind of have somebody in mind when creating your marketing content for FIT clients in particular, because you're not necessarily talking to a large segment. You're trying to get to speak to individuals and tell a story that they want to tell about themselves. So you see here, we've got there's a variety. It's not a particular age necessarily, though as we'll see, there are some ages that tend to be more FIT, but it's a variety of folks. In our examples here, we've got 38-year-old, a 31-year-old, a 52-year-old. They all have different interests in what drives them to a company like Dinosaur Trips or to the types of experiences that we are able to offer. Our second one, it's more of the same. And these are very representative of the clients that we have traveled, both in group departures and in FIT experiences in the past. Oftentimes we're seeing pairs of grandmother, parent, aunt, uncle taking somebody from the younger generation, be they, I mean, it's mostly Gen Z these days as millennials are aging more into the actual paying for the product client base. But they really do come from a lot of different places, and they're kind of telling a different story to themselves and the people in their lives. So happy to share these to give you some examples of who you want to keep in mind when you're generating marketing materials. To give you a sense of a typical price point of what we're seeing our international FITs invest in experience first travel, as I was saying, it's usually the range that we've tended to see is 4,000 to 8,000 Canadian per traveler, and that's for multi-day experiences. So that's we're putting a bunch of experiences together for the traveler in that case. And this would include from our side of things, pricing includes accommodations, the guides, the access, the transportation, and educational programming. And when I say transportation, when it's our group departures, that means there's a driver and vehicle the whole time, but we also organize car rentals for those that are, in the FIT and doing it themselves, leading the way themselves. And so I said already, they value quality over luxury, but they are willing to spend for rare access and authentic context. And I think Grand Prairie is very rich, not just in the paleontology space, but in general, in both rare access to unique experiences and certainly authentic context. I think that cannot be stressed enough. So what they're looking for in the experiences, and again, I mean, you've got to take this with the handful of salt that I am a paleontology travel company, but my background is much broader from adventure travel in general, and even having worked with corporations that just do kind of your most commercial travel experiences. And while this boils down specifically for dinosaur trips, I think there is certainly applicable across the outdoor and adventure space, which obviously is the right audience for Grand Prairie. So they're looking for immersive guided learning experience, be that, in my case, fossil digs and field work with paleontologists. But if there's any history or culture experiences to be had, they just want the authentic, right? They want to do the real thing. They don't want to feel like tourists. Unique local culture, huge, that's crucial. Indigenous history, of course, conservation projects are big with these folks. Regional cuisine, that's kind of the first question. If not the first question, let's say the second or third question. Many of my guests ask is where can I eat, the best local food? Where can I hit up the distilleries, the breweries? And I know from talking to Jasmine and through exploration on our own, like there's a lot of potential certainly for development of those kinds of experiences and some that are already pretty fantastic and exist in the region. So I think that's something to be excited about for this FIT. What they expect from their experiences, for myself, to recommend a local partner or product as we're putting together these packages for our FRT clients who are asking about what we're deeming our Northern Alberta product. So these are kind of things I'm looking for in order to recommend working with a company. So clear, story-rich interpretation. Again, that's staff who can speak to, in our case, science, history, or impact. But these are curious travelers that they want to learn something. So you want to be able to clearly talk about whatever experience it is that's being offered in an educated way. Reliability and consistency. I can't speak enough to how crucial this is. I mean, I think if you're in the travel industry, that's a given, or any industry, let's be frank. Reliability and consistency is what everybody's looking for. But for me, as I'm putting together our itineraries A, B, C, D for our clients, to be able to get our partners on the phone or in an email quickly, so that I can get back to them and say, yes, I can still book this, or this, is very helpful. Example, today I've actually booked an FIT package coming in for the Grand Prairie area up in August. And yeah, it had been weeks that we'd been going back and forth. They were debating, do I do the Calgary Dinosaur Provincial Park Drumheller stretch? Do I go to the northern bit? What's my best work? How many days? So we'd had a lot of back and forth. And then as um, anyone in this industry can probably speak to, maybe things go quiet for a bit, but they came back today, obviously having had time to look at what I proposed and said, yes, okay, we're ready to book now. And so time has passed and I've got to go back to my partners and say, hey, do we still have availability on this? And so to be able to get a quick response there just helps on all sides of the equations. And I know the FIT traveler themselves, if you're just going straight to them and there's no middleman like myself in the equation, it's crucial. It's the most crucial. If they're doing this independent research for their own independent travel as they go, then if they don't get a response quick, they may have already moved on to another option very quickly that has given them the answer. I can speak for myself as somebody who I think fits this FIT mold when I do my own travel. If I'm going to go with wherever I get the answer as I continue to make my plans. If somebody's come through with a response and it takes 2 more days to get someone else, I've probably pot committed to the one who got back to me quick. So it's just something important to keep in mind. And again, meaningful connection to place, something they can't get anywhere else. Everywhere in the world offers a version of this. It's just about figuring out exactly what that is and how to speak to that. For me in particular, it's exciting that you're not going to get the best bone bed on the face of the planet anywhere else besides in the Grand Prairie region. So we make sure to really drive that home at all times. And then experiences that align with science, sustainability, outdoor adventure, and cultural respect. I feel like I've said that a few times now, but it's really crucial. And when we get to when you're talking about marketing to these folks, those images, those videos in particular, if you can demonstrate alignment with science, sustainability, outdoor adventure, and cultural respect, then you're hitting home. So the FIT travel inspiration, as I was just alluding to, the marketing. Today's FITs are research-driven and digitally savvy. I can't say that enough. They seek out travel ideas from sources they trust, which these days varies a lot. Some people trust certain social media, some don't. Some trust Google still, some don't. So you kind of want to have a presence that makes yourself feel trustworthy no matter where you are. They've got an eye for authenticity, as I've mentioned, credibility and story. They're looking at social media platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. It's just true. And most of my inquiries for our Grand Prairie experiences this year have come through my social media advertising. And I wasn't, to be frank, before we started that campaign, I wasn't sure if that was going to be the most effective way, but it absolutely has been. I'm getting feedback from the guests themselves that that's true. And I think, particularly for myself, but I think experiences that you might all have that are represented, that are similar when your outdoor adventure, your culture, your educational experiences, whatever that may be, it's very applicable for visual storytelling, and that's what these mediums do very well. So if you're doing behind the scenes content or just want to tell a story, it's excellent option for that. Influencers and content creators in the science, adventure, and cultural travel space, not celebrities, not maybe people who are just influencers for influencers' sake, as we say, but people with expertise and niche trust, people who have developed a little audience for themselves are a great way to get to these folks. Podcasts and blogs focused on science, sustainability, history. Got science in there twice, I guess, just to underline it in my case. But outdoor adventure, whatever it is that you're offering, there's literally millions of podcasts now, and there's a good chance that somebody is speaking directly to your audience, and perhaps with a very low barrier to entry in terms of marketing investment for advertising with them. And then media coverage, I mean, it's tried, tested, and true, and it works to this day, especially when you're talking to more niche audiences. National Geographic, Outside, The Guardian Travel, New York Times Travel, any of them are a fantastic way to still reach the older segment of the FIT population that's out there. They still, when it comes to trust, for the older FIT traveler, they still have just incredible trust in those institutions of print media like National Geo, Outside, and your various large newspapers. So I still think there's a lot of merit in there. I say that with the bias of having started in this industry as a travel journalist, but when you're talking to people who want authenticity and storytelling, this is still a great way to get in front of them. And I will say, if you want lasting value, I still haven't found anything better than legacy media for reservations or inquiries that come years later and be like, oh, I saw this and this years ago. So while the Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube generation might be quick and they might forget about you, for that older audience, there's still value in media. So, if you can talk to, your local tourism boards, obviously, the provincial tourism boards, as well as organized amongst operators. And I'm happy to be in on these conversations about putting together press tours and hosting, because these days if you do want to host media, or if you do want media exposure, I should say, you almost have to host them. That's where we are in that equation these days. But it's certainly a conversation worth starting and having, I think, is how often can we host media? They're looking for places they've never been before, and they've been most places at this point. So Grand Prairie has an opportunity there to tell a story that they haven't probably got into as much as they should have. And then finally, online reviews, community platforms, but with a critical eye. TripAdvisor, Google, secondary to first-person storytelling, as I say. But you want to make sure that you have a place where you have online reviews and community. People look to that first thing of like, well, somebody done this? What did they think? What catches their eye? Clear values, as I've mentioned, conservation, indigenous partnerships, education, transparency, and trustworthiness. You don't want too many levels between you and the client. They want to feel like they're talking to somebody and they're getting clear answers. And finally, one more time, unique access, real expertise, and rich storytelling. Why do I think it's ideal for Grand Prairie? Well, it's got all the right bones, pardon my silly pun there, but we do that a lot at Dinosaur Trips. So in my case, the FITs are going to be drawn to fossil sites and dig experiences, but as well as Indigenous-led storytelling or simply Indigenous-owned companies. Farm-to-table dining with a story, trails, cliffs, landscapes that tell ancient tales. And so I see real opportunity to put Grand Prairie on at least the prehistoric map, but also just the outdoor and adventure map as well. So thank you for having me today. I really appreciate the time and to share what my insights from my little corner of things. And you've got my email address there, my phone number as well. You can just feel free to reach out at any point. I can share those slides. I'll be sharing them with Jasmine as well to share with you. But yeah, happy to also just connect for some of the things I talked about here, whether that's media or experiences or otherwise. Or if you want to partner with Dinosaur Trips and think you can feed into what we're doing, I'd love to hear from you because haven't it's a great space, but I've mainly been involved in the paleontology portion of it around the Curry Museum. So if you've got a product that you think lines up with us well, please reach out and I'll hand the screen over back to Jasmine.
Thank you so much, Zach. That was great. Excellent information. And I can provide everyone here a testimonial that Zach is a wonderful collaborator. So if you do have ideas or just want to touch base on anything, he's a wonderful sounding board and has some great ideas, as you just saw. And I do think you hit it on the head that storytelling is absolutely key with any type of tourist, but with the FITs in particular. Really, that storytelling is the difference between a transaction, which is really that commerce-based activities, and an experience, which is absolutely what tourism is all about. People aren't motivated by needs, they're motivated by their wants when it comes to tourism, which is really a luxury item, no matter how you split it. So those motivations are wants, it's emotional. So we need those stories to connect with people and make a lasting impression on an emotional level. So yeah, I think that's great. And also you mentioned something at the beginning of your presentation there on knowing your niche, but also understanding alignment with other interests to support that cooperative marketing and promotion, which is also critical, not only to improving that guest experience of FITs, but also encouraging them to stay longer in our region. So yeah, definitely knowing your core audience, but finding some similarities to help grow your business and partners that way in the community. Excellent. Thank you very much. Cindy, you've been in the industry for 15 years now. Can you tell us more about No Borders and the opportunities you see for operators in the region?
Yeah, Jasmine, thanks. I was really happy when you called me because when we did talk, I said, "Oh, I never even realized I've lived here for 25 years. Didn't actually realize we had so much until we talked and I started looking into it." And then doing travel and building FITs for other parts of the world all the time, and even for myself, which is funny that like Zach's on. And I mean, we do Drumheller every summer, but I never thought about putting a package together and bringing people here. So I really love that idea, like that we are going to really try to blow up Grand Prairie and Grand Cache and all these areas. Why not? It is a beautiful country. We have a lot of stuff. We have we have the ski hills, we have the dinosaurs, we have the rivers, we have the horsebacking, we have the hunting, we have so much. So yeah, I'm kind of excited. And like I said, I'm like totally happy to help with anything that anybody needs help with. We do as travel agents, what we're always kind of looking for. So this is an example. I got an email this morning and it says, "Hey, Cindy, we did our Victoria Falls and our safari with you 4 years ago. Now we're ready to do a new safari," right? So then what I have to do is I have to reach out to the Zacks and all the people that can help, and I put all that together. So not like, it's not that we can't do that here. If you have the product and we all work together collaboratively, like we can figure it out. You have the horseback riding. Okay, so how do we get the people to fly in, build that package, get them to go down to Grand Cache, go on camping, horseback riding, trail riding? Here's an example. My daughter just went to Sylvan Lake for a week. She said, "Mom, can you help me? I can't find horseback riding anywhere." I swear, I spent 2 hours Googling, trying to find horseback riding. There's a lot down there. We know that. Banff, right? We would have the same thing for Jasper and Grand Cache, but it's almost like nobody's advertising it, or it's not in a place that's easy to find that information. So like one of the things when we were talking earlier is like Viator. I don't know, like I see that we have Jonathan on it, he's Nighthawk, right? So are they on Viator? That Get Your Guide. Those are places that these people are looking and getting ideas. Like an example, I did Ireland with my youngest daughter. The younger generation they're more than willing to spend every penny of savings they have to do something that is like a dream trip, right? But she was so much smarter than me, doing this forever. I was like, oh yeah, we'll just, go there, rent a car, do whatever. Oh no, we had a Google map it had over 60 pins on it. She watched TikToks and like got all the out of the way places and unique things, and then built this whole thing on Google Maps. So I do suggest Google Maps. Make sure that you're on there and you're getting reviews on there, because that generation, like 35 and younger, that would be coming up and doing stuff is definitely using that, which I never was. So that was a learning curve for me too. So even though we were going on an FIT package, she still came up with all these things from like Zach said, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and they're all watching all of those. So that was a real eye opener for me. So I do believe like if we have a product, you can easily go on Viator or Get Your Guide and sign up and put you on there, because I was looking. So like the Hoodoos are on there. Calgary is on there. There was nothing. I typed in Grand Prairie, Alberta, just to see if I could find anything in this area. We got nothing. Like we have zero advertising for that. We've got Calgary, but like we even have like a zombie scavenger thing. Like there's so much when you go on there. So I would definitely go and look. Be careful, because there's Grand Prairie, Alberta and Texas. So I find that messes people up a lot on Facebook and whatnot. But like there's walking tours, like the Best of Alberta walking tour. It's a 2-hour tour. They're charging $418. And it's got a 5-star review. So I think like that is one of the best things, is to start getting into that. I mean, the ski hill does so much here. So many things, like, and people would come for those, like, and we've got Grand Cache, like they do have the river rafting. That's a big one. And the same though, there's only one company that's actually advertising that on any of the places that you could go buy yourself a ticket. And those are a lot of the FITs. So, I mean, I don't really know, like, I think that having your internet, Facebook, Instagram, like Zach said, I think TikTok, if you can get somebody that's good at TikTok, that would not be me either. Those are all really credible things. And definitely the Google. Like, I didn't realize how important Google was, Google reviews, being on the Google map, making sure that was there, until my daughter brought that to me. And I was like, oh, look at you. Huh. I think the older generation, we don't really know all that stuff. It's all so new, right? And going digital, like making sure that like anything they can download, a downloadable ticket. If we were going to do, I'm just thinking, because you had said to me there was a horseback riding place in Grand Cache where you could go. I've never heard of that. Why have I never heard of that when all I do is travel? So that was kind of disheartening to me. So now putting it on the tourism page is one thing, but that could totally be an excursion. I mean, I did hear yesterday that the city is working with WestJet and the airport here with Edmonton, trying to get more flights coming in and out. That will be a win, because that's always the struggle here, is our flights. And then I would assume we're going to need to build in transfers. So like if you're going to do an FIT, you're going to need to get the people here. You're going to need to get them to the location they need to go to. You're going to need lodging. Trying to build, yes, thank you. Trying to build in like breakfast, if it was something, that's going to be a really big one to help you get people here. I find that's always one of the biggest ones is one meal included always is a seller over not 100%. I'm just trying to think of all the little things. Like when I'm doing an FIT, I will fly you in. I will do your flights, then I will make sure I get you your transfer to your hotel. And then from there, I will make sure somebody's picking you up to take you out on your excursion for the day. Like we got to make sure that we have every step done, especially here, because it's not easy. It's not easy just to get, like if somebody thought they were going to fly in here and get down to Grand Cache, right? We couldn't.
Can
So,
you
I mean,
speak a
I'm not
little?
really sure how I can help.
Can you speak a little bit to like the strong digital presence for business is absolutely critical, and you've nailed that on the head. But what about, so reaching out and finding those partners to bring packages together? There are various options in the region as far as who to reach out to. When you're thinking about the type of experience an FIT wants, the quality of care, or, from rustic to luxury, how would a business consider their offering and the type of traveler they're wanting to attract, and pitch that to potential partners, to find the strongest alignment?
And definitely, we have a lot of travel agencies. I mean, not a lot, but we have some good ones. We have some that have been here for a long time. So that's an easy one. I do find, here's like an example. So I got an email yesterday for a lady she's newly into a breakup and wants to go away for a 21-day retreat, a woman's retreat. So it doesn't matter if it's a yoga retreat or whatever. And in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, wow, we could capitalize on that here. Could you imagine going up into the mountains, right? Like we're kind of, these are things that we could totally be doing. And I am booking people to leave our country to do it when we have it. So I do think making sure like people don't mind being rugged. That is one of a big sale. Like if you go check, this is the stuff I would do. Go look on G Adventures and see like what they would be doing for a tour, right? Like I've done their tours. They're cool. You'll sleep in a castle. You'll go to a tribe and have a meal with a tribe. Like you'll get right in local with the host. And that's a really big one. This generation loves that part of being immersed in that culture. And I think that would be fantastic, especially for the horseback riding one. I do think you need to get it out there. And so doing the TikTok and the Instagram, all those work, having a Facebook page and reviews, like you have to grow that and make sure everything's linked. Like I have the Grand Prairie Facebook group, and we have about 8,500 people in there, but it's also linked to our Instagram. So you can link those. So every time we make a post in the Grand Prairie page, it's also going to Instagram. So I'm not working twice as hard, but I am catering to over 20,000 people between those two platforms. And that's an easy way to do it. I mean, TikTok, I haven't gotten there yet, but if you have anybody in your office or in your family or in the business that's younger, that's like, good to do that. I think that's a really up and coming one. And you never know. Look at some of these things. Like one person sees it and then something just goes viral. Like how cool would that be if that was us? That would be super cool. I mean, it could happen, right? And I think definitely gather feedback, like sending out. I mean, is anybody doing weekly newsletters about your product?
Organizations, have regular newsletters to members.
Yeah. And then then let's get people sharing that, like signing up. So like when you join my Facebook group, I've made it private, which is my own thing, but I made it private. So when people join it, they have to say yes or no, they would like to get newsletters. And then they can choose which kind they're interested in, and then they can share those. And I think that's a really good one. And also like once you've had somebody come, ask them, like do a survey, find out what did they love, what did they not, how can we improve on that. Definitely making it easy to get around. Like I wrote some things like whether it's going to be walking shuttles, bike rentals, clear signage, that would be a huge one for where you're going. We don't have trains. I mean, I don't know how it will. I mean, we have like Y Drive, we have we have companies that do transfers, right? So could we build it all together, like as a package that way where everybody's collaboratively working together? I think we could, and I'm totally happy to help.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, we can do anything. The sky's the limit,
Right?
right? We have
Yeah.
some really passionate people in the industry and strong collaborative networks. So I think anything is possible. So think there's tons of opportunity for GPRTA to continue to work with your company and other travel agencies, and I think do some cross sharing of information. And I see a lot of opportunity here. So my mind is starting to spin.
Yeah, and I'll share, like, if somebody wants to reach out to me, I will post about your product in my group, 100%.
That's
No
great.
problem there. Yeah.
Awesome. Fantastic. Well, I do think the Google Maps thing is, I'm glad you touched on that. So GPRTA is incorporating a new platform into our website, which will be launched probably in July, and it's going to allow for mapped itineraries. So it works of Google Maps. So as long as you're there and we feature your business in an itinerary, somebody will be able to kind of drive, virtually tour
Yeah.
their experience ahead of time and sort of understand the logistics and things like that, and just help build better awareness as somebody's coming into the region, that we are vast and rural. So just making sure they have clear expectations coming in and are preparing properly to have the best time possible.
Yeah.
So it can't all be on the businesses, right? There's especially with the FIT, they like taking on that independence and being flexible and being able to plan their own adventures. So having that type of strong digital presence for them to get as much information to start filling the gaps and making the connections on their own is a really important thing for businesses to be taking
Yeah.
on as well. Awesome. Well, I do invite everybody to pop something in the chat if anything's come to mind. I do have a couple questions for Zach and Cindy while you guys ponder if there's anything you'd like to put forward. Just a question to maybe Zach, I'll pose to you. What opportunities or challenges do FITs present for smaller or rural destinations? I know you touched on quite a few specifically for Grand Prairie,
Yeah.
but as you know, you've been up here, we have, as I said off the top, our region is broad all the way from Grand Cache into Saddle Hills, and so some of that connectivity does become a challenge, but what's the opportunity there?
Yeah, the opportunity, I mean, economic diversification, I'd say, like just because FITs do tend to stay longer. And as I was talking about, they want those authentic experiences. So, what that means when it comes, forget the marketing language about authentic experiences. They're looking for something local. They're seeking niche and immersive experiences, right? So, if it's off the beaten path, which in the case of most rural destinations, and particularly Grand Prairie, that fits very nicely. I think that's an opportunity. And as I said, that authentic engagement, it's hard to find authentic engagement in Disney World, but it's very easy to find authentic engagement in Grand Prairie. As I said, these are more curious, independent travelers, obviously by their name. So they're interested in connecting to local culture, history, landscapes. And that's exactly what a rural destination presents. There isn't kind of a wall between the tourists and the people who live there. So it's just kind of guaranteed to be authentic. And the more authentic you can, not make it seem, but the more authentic you can speak to what the experience is, the better, of course. And then word of mouth momentum. I mean, I think, when a place does capture the FIT traveler's imagination, it's shared naturally. Instagram, blogs less and less, I think, but they still exist, especially podcasts, TikTok, as I've talked about. So, there's an opportunity for a small destination to punch above its weight, for the right traveler at the right time. And then, becomes word of mouth momentum, which despite everything that I'm talking about here is still probably, even remove the word probably, is still the most important promotion you can get. And the FIT traveler is somebody, as I said, yes, they're experienced collectors a lot of the time, and they want to be at the dinner party or the bar and be able to say, here's what I've done. But what that is, it's positive word of mouth momentum. And yeah, as Jasmine alluded to on the challenges side, like obviously there's going to be infrastructure gap issues, or over tourism can become an issue, but I don't think we're necessarily flirting with that at this point. And yeah, service capacity. I mean, rural or remote destinations, they're not going to have perhaps the same capacity to put somebody up in a luxury hotel or simply enough rooms if these things blow up. But I don't, that's a future challenge. Really, it's about solving the infrastructure gaps in the meantime. And while that's a challenge, obviously that's also an opportunity for businesses to find more chances to to either engage with and make money from these tourists that are coming in. If there's infrastructure gaps, there can be things that solve it, and then folks like myself can book those opportunities in between. So while it's a challenge sometimes, those gaps, when you've got a community that's coming together, like a travel community that is coming together, it can, let's say that can be opportunity as well. So
absolutely, it's how you look at it, right? And I do think sometimes the challenge is, in our case, I see it really as one of our strengths, less a challenge, and it kind of drives us to stay true to our brand and true to us and grow in a sustainable way that's going to continue to reinforce our local culture instead of trying to bring things in to, fill this immediate need in a way that's not us. I think it is all perspective. Cindy, what is or are the most important considerations when designing experiences or services specifically for FITs? Think of, one or two key messages you'd like to leave people with as we kind of round out our webinar today.
So I think our biggest thing would be the visibility. So I find you. That's going to be our biggest one. And then like you said, the organic experience, they really, that is the game changer. And we have that. And so I think that is just it. And making the ease, your clients do not want to struggle to find you to get from A to B, and neither does the travel agent that's building that package, right? So the more difficult that becomes. So I think if we connecting with the other people that have the businesses to help us and everybody collaborate together, that's just all we have to do. We just have to do it because we are everything's so far away from each other here. We're not in the city, right? We're even you go to Drumheller, you have to go all the way out to the Hoodoos, right? You have you go, and we're the same way. And I think so collaborating for sure, finding those people who are going to drive your group of people down to Grand Cache or up to Fox Creek, but definitely people need more visibility. The fact that I've lived here this long and I didn't know about most of these businesses, that means visibility for sure. And why not run some ads? Well, if you're on Facebook, run some ads. I don't even know how to do it. I got to be honest, I'm of the generation that's past that. I use Fiverr. I pay them $50. I say, go set up a week's worth of ads for me, run each ad at $10 a day. And now he's done that. And now I have those ads forever. They're in my meta. So it cost me $50 instead of me spending 12 hours trying to figure it out and then getting nothing out of it. So there's so many little things we can do to get out there without even having to do it ourselves. Just, a little bit of pocket change, and life's much easier that way. Absolutely. So those are just ideas that I've used to grow, I have people reaching out from all over Canada to join as travel agents. And I'm sorry, I'm at capacity right now for training. So it definitely works.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely does. And it's a cheap route to go.
Right. Working smarter, not harder is a pretty good rule of thumb for all things.
Right. Yeah.
And if you don't mind sharing some of those platforms that you mentioned that have helped in your business, I'd love to share those out with the recording and the slides from today's presentation.
Okay, I'll send you an email after.
Off point. Yeah, that would be great.
For sure.
Anything to add to that, Zach, or does Cindy capture?
No, I think she did. No, I absolutely just agree with what she's saying there. I think, there's opportunities to reach these audiences, and it's just about finding them. They're simple. They can be simple. They can be complicated as well if you get behind this wall at Meta or things like that. But there's ways. And yeah, I mean, for me, as somebody coming from outside of Grand Prairie and wanting to put together itineraries, the visibility, it's key. I mean, it just makes it so much simpler if you're easy to find. It sounds obvious, but after all my years in this industry, it remains the thing I think, you just got to remind people the most. Visibility. It matters. It really does.
Yeah, especially in a digital era, because it's not something you just do once and it's up there and you can forget about it. It needs that constant attention and nurturing. It's not a set it and forget it thing. And I think that when people are running their businesses, that's their primary purpose. They've got all the operational needs that go with that, and kind of that ongoing maintenance of marketing isn't necessarily the main priority. But as Cindy said, there's some tools out there that can kind of help you do it on a regular basis, consistently, and it sounds like some cheap options as well. So we'll be happy to share those out. I want to thank everyone for joining us here today. We have recorded this session and it will go up on our YouTube channel shortly. I'll share the link to that as well as the slides for Zach's presentation and mine in later this week. You'll have it all by Friday, I would assume. Thanks very much for joining us and have a great afternoon.
Thank you.